Bienvenidos and welcome to The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm David Healy, and I don't have a cute intro, but I do have a cute shirt. I decided to wear, I thought this was a perfect episode to wear my Coco shirt.
Feels
It's not
appropriate.
Le Coco, but it is Coco. And it says, I'm not joking, bitch. And
Slay.
there's a lot to talk about with this episode, and I am not joking, bitch. But I'm just drinking some water right now.
Did
Oh,
did you just call me a bitch, by the way? Hello? How dare
maybe,
you?
maybe, but it's because you don't have a cup mug, you bitch.
Okay,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But everybody out there, including Eduardo, can get a cup mug at lanagcreations.etsy.com. And we do ship internationally, so there are no excuses.
looks at me in the mirror. Anyways, hola, I am Eduardo, the Mexican representative of this podcast. I am here to talk shit and get hit, apparently. I'm getting hit left and right and center by David. Uh, yeah, I don't have anything to drink, but I'm really excited to talk about España. This was a really good episode. And yeah, my Lord have mercy, a lot has been going on with España, both in Drag Race and outside of it. My heart goes out to everyone in Valencia. I am so sorry, y'all. Uh, but yeah, hopefully this takes your mind off of this. I am so sorry. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this.
hmm Yes, I am too, because it was definitely an eventful episode. But while you're here, please do us a favor. If you could subscribe to this channel, if you're not already subscribed, I don't know why you're watching if you're not subscribed, just do it already. And while you're here, you should also like this video, share this video, leave some comments in this video, and we would very much appreciate that. And I guess not everybody's even watching the video. Some of you are listening to the podcast versions. So I want to shout you out too, because I'm one of you. I listen to the podcast versions too. But yeah, I think it's time to get into this episode because
Absolutely.
yeah, it was very eventful as we said. Um, and we start off coming back to the workroom, and everybody is celebrating the double shante. Well, most of them are
Except for Le
celebrating.
Coco.
La Coco is not having it. She's like, well, crap.
Le Coco is
I
living
wanted
her
one
Lana
more.
fantasy. Like, she's just like Lana. Someone has to win and someone has to
hmm
go home every single episode. What are we doing?
Exactly. I just love that La Coco is so consistent with this like fun curmudgeon and like just always complaining about things, but in such a likable way for me. Like
Yeah.
it's been that way since episode one. I just love her.
Yeah, I've, as I've said before, I've fallen in love with Le Coco. So this moment was really funny to me. Her just being like, "Yay, we're
hmm
still in top seven. Can someone please go home? Can someone please? Can we please?"
Right.
Yes.
And then furthermore, they all start congratulating Vampy for winning the challenge last week. And we get Le Coco in confessional being like, you know what? I held back so she could shine. So I think she owes part of that win to me.
She owes me some money, please, Vampy.
She
Thank
does.
you.
And we kind of said that last week too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, well, she did kind of help elevate Vampy.
Yeah,
So,
I did say that both of them deserve to be in the top because like they were leaning off of each other so much.
right.
Anyways, go check that out if you haven't
hmm
watched that episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think anything else really happened in that moment. So we do have the next day in the workroom. They come in. Um, there's a little bit of conversation before Supreme comes in.
Mhm.
And Supreme, I don't think this has ever happened before, but Supreme acknowledges a birthday of one of the contestants.
Yeah, like she was the first one to acknowledge it. Like we didn't come in and the girls were like, "Oh, like Coco, happy,"
Right.
because normally that's how it happens if we have a birthday, which we've had I think once or twice.
Mm,
This is the first time that the host goes out of her way to be like, "Happy birthday, dear contestant. How are you
yeah.
doing?"
And it
And
is Le Coco. I feel like she's the person we're going to be talking about the most this
yeah, this was
episode.
her episode. It was her birthday, and spoiler, she did really good in the challenge. So like,
hmm
it was her episode through and through, truly.
Yeah, it definitely was her episode. But Supreme does give some hints about the challenge, and I thought she was leaning into what the maxi challenge was, but then it took like a swerve, and
Mhm.
because she was talking about branding, but then she talks about like fisting, and somehow we got to puppets, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing a mini challenge.
Yeah, once we said started talking about fisting, I was like, "Oh, we're doing the puppet challenge." Okay, because also we didn't have like a video message. Supreme just walked in, so I was like, "What's going on here?"
Right.
Hello. So
It was
yeah,
pretty
when
jarring.
yeah, it was pretty jarring for me. I wrote it down. I was like, "What's going on here? What? Hello?"
Mhm.
But yeah, we're doing puppets.
We are, and, that's why Lana couldn't be with us because Lana notoriously hates puppets.
Yes.
The saying of "everybody loves puppets" is not true because Lana exists, and she does not like them.
Yeah, I think they're fine. I think they are fine.
Yeah. It's kind of like a secondary reading challenge, but
Yeah,
it's more concentrated on one person, so and there's, like, acting involved, so I don't mind it, I think it's fun.
yeah. It's kind of mixing the reading challenge with Snatch Game because you have to like make fun of the person, but also
Mhm.
like do their voice and do their mannerisms and do all the things. So like,
And make a look for them, so it's a design
yeah,
challenge, it's a makeover, it's a roast.
Lord,
It's a little bit of everything all at once, and
yes.
sometimes they sing in it, and it can be a rusical too. I
Well,
don't I don't think we had that this time.
no, we did not have anyone sing. I believe.
Yep. So everybody sticks their fists into this dark hole and pulls out a puppet. We have Angelita gets La Nina, Mariana gets Vampy, Maggie gets Mariana, Le Coco gets Chloe, Chloe gets Le Coco, Vampy gets Maggie, and La Nina gets Angelita. So we had, I think, 2 pairs that had each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we did. Which is kind of weird because
Mhm,
like, especially knowing what happens throughout like everything, it's
mhm.
very weird as to how the pairs ended up falling.
I know. Imagine if it was like Angelita and La Nina had each other, and then Maggie and Mariana had each other.
That would have been wild. That
Yeah,
would have truly been wild.
yeah. But, yeah, did anything stand out for you with anybody in the puppet challenge?
I felt like a lot of people did really well in this
Mhm,
challenge because normally this is a very hit or miss challenge. For me, I thought Angelita really did a really good intro of La Nina. Just a very silent, like, oh, it's silent. Finally, there's nothing to be heard. Hello, everybody. Like, it just felt correct. It felt
yeah,
correct to me. But for me, La Nina was just absolutely like letting out all of her emotions, all of her pent up like anger towards Angelita, and it kind of worked. It was
mhm.
for me. For me, La Nina was absolutely like my favorite one in this mini challenge.
Yeah, I actually think both of them did well with each other,
Yeah.
and what I really liked about this is I think it's easy if you have your enemy and they are like reading you and trying to like make fun of you with the puppets, it's easy to get in your feelings and just look pissed off the whole time. But neither of them did that. Both of them were cracking up as they were being made fun of. So I like that at least in this moment, they felt like good sports with it and it felt like it was all in fun. And I'm like, okay, you all are sisters, right? You do get along, right?
Yeah, when this was happening, I was like, "Oh, finally, we're moving on. We're stopping with the fights. The fights are no longer happening. We are moving on." No,
Hmm.
absolutely not. That's not what was happening. But this was one of the nicer intros so far because so far we've had fights on fights on fights when we come into the workroom. So
Hmm.
this was a little nicer.
True. The only other thing that stood out to me with the puppets was how short they showed Vampy. Like,
Mhm.
it seemed like 5 seconds of her and then it was done, but everybody else had, like, a decent amount of their thing, so, like, "Oh, we're not giving her anything here, are we?"
Yeah, I mean, I guess if she bombed, they didn't really want to show us
True.
her bombing, which for this episode would have been kind of weird. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine.
Mhm.
I don't really need to see a bombing like on live TV. Like I don't need to see that. I'm
Right,
okay
I
with not
agree.
seeing that.
I agree, but we do get our winner for the mini challenge, and it is La Niña del Antro. Yay.
Yes.
and more points for me. I will take those in the draft. But
Lord.
we find out that her prize for being the mini challenge winner is she gets to pick her teammates for the branding type of challenge that we're doing. Oh, branding
Mhm.
improv, it's really bizarre.
It
um,
was a lot.
yeah. So I'll just go ahead and get the teams out before we go into what the different categories were. But
Hmm.
La Nina picks Chloe and then Angelita for her
Yes.
teammate. So there's going to be one team of three, and so she just made her team the team of three, and everybody was instantly confused. Like, why is she picking Angelita?
I immediately understood why she did it.
I
I
did
was like, this is strategic. I
too.
absolutely know what's going on inside La Nina's head. And I agree. Like, I would have done the exact same thing.
Yep.
I would have done the exact same thing in La Nina's shoes.
And she confirms it to us in confessional. I picked Angelita because just in case things go under, I want to have somebody there that I know I can probably beat in a lip sync and who won't beat Chloe. And I'm like, okay, that is smart if you don't want to lip sync against your friend again, especially considering it
Yeah.
was just a double shante. Like she might have no idea. She might think, oh, well, Chloe could have actually beat me in that. So I think it's kind of smart to have somebody who's also been in the bottom a few times. You know their style. You know your styles are very different,
Mhm.
and you could
Yeah.
probably take them.
I think picking Angelita was a win win situation for La Nina because Angelita is notoriously funny. We all know this. She's been doing pretty well in the comedy challenges, and at least the judges seem to find her really funny. So, like, it makes sense for her to pick La Nina. And then if they do badly, you can beat her in a lip sync. So, like, it's a win win situation for La Nina.
Hmm. Agreed. But she does get to pick what product they have, and she chooses the Satisfyer for their team. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the Satisfyer does. Can you remind me?
The Satis fryer is like an air fryer, but that gives you an orgasm in your mouth because scientists have found a new G spot
Mhm.
in the mouth. So now this like air fryer makes food hit the G spot weirdly. I don't know. It was weird, but like for me, this was like the very obvious choice to make. Like
Mhm.
everyone's probably gonna want to do this because it's the simplest comedy that you can make.
Yeah, I think there was a different one that I might have gone for because it's pretty easy comedy.
Yeah, this is not the one that I would have gone for, but for me, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is the simplest one.
Right, that's fair. But she also gets to pick what the other teams are going to have for their product. So Meggie and Le Coco are a team, and so she gives them the recliner. And I think if I were anybody there, I might want the recliner because it's a recliner that's basically also a place you can poop and pee. So I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, well, that seems like pretty easy to make humorous, right?
yeah, it's just different types of humor.
Hmm.
I just like it's either toilet humor or sex humor, and both have been done a lot, and are both pretty simple. But for me, there's like more things that you can play around with when it comes to the recliner than with the air fryer.
Hmm. But the third product, honestly, that might be the hardest one. But Vampi and Mariana get it, and it is this mattress that when you're on it, it whispers to you like diva songs. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think specifically also it wasn't just like any diva songs. It was only like Monica Naranjo songs,
Oh.
which I'm like, sure, sure, or at least that's what the way that uh, spoiler, the way that Mariana and they end up like branding it for just Monica Naranjo. So I was just like, sure, I mean, I'm down. But this one's definitely for me like the toughest one. Like I really don't know what I would have done if I was given the mattress.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely the biggest challenge, I think, and we'll see if they live up to the challenge. But everybody breaks off into their duos or teams and start talking about things. Immediately, Vampy and Mariana are like, "So why did La Nina pick Analita? I'm confused." So it wasn't obvious for everybody.
I guess so. I guess not everyone just has like a very like mind and strategy when it comes to drag race, because like you don't really think about like having a strategy when it comes to doing things like drag race. Like it's not a social like experiment like Big Brother or Survivor. So like it's tougher to really come up with a strategy. So I understand why they were confused, because the immediate
Mhm.
thought would be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pick my friends." So like I
Right.
get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's more than just like friendship chemistry that comes into play in these type
Mhm.
of challenges. So I think she had a lot of really good options to choose from. I think pretty much everybody that is left has shown that they can be funny at some point in the
Yeah.
competition. So it's a
Yeah.
funny top 7.
Yeah, this was also like another situation, which, funnily enough, you're wearing her shirt. It's like the moment where Coco picked Alyssa for the dancing challenge. It's like,
Mhm,
I hate her, sure, but like, I'm not stupid. I think she could help me out in this challenge. And worst comes to worst, I don't care if I have to lip sync against her. Like, it's basically the same situation here.
mhm. But we see the trio. They're talking about ideas of what to do. I think it was Angelita came up with the idea of like, oh, there's like these advertisements we see that are in English and they're dubbed over in Spanish. We could do that, and immediately the other two are like, yes, let's do that. They seemed
Mhm.
really excited about this idea,
I
and
mean,
I've
yeah.
never seen anything like that. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll figure it out.
Yeah, for me, yes, for me it's really funny when this happens, because it happens a lot. Like on
Hmm.
TV shows and everything, when you're hearing a dub situation, you just hear the Spanish version on top of it, but you can kind of hear the English below it, and you just can tell that the words just don't merge together. So you're just like, what's going on here? This is feels very weird. It's very weird. So like I immediately understood why we made this choice. I also
Hmm.
thought it was like a funny choice that was made, because I don't know if you have ever like I don't think you've told me you're not an anime fan, but if anyone has watched anime and you have watched it dubbed, it's so funny because you will see like in the anime the characters speaking for hours and hours, and the dub will just say like, okay, yes, absolutely, but they will be moving their mouth for like 3 whole seconds, and you're like, hello, well, how much are you cutting down on? Hello? So like
Right.
I got it.
That's funny. Yeah, I think I've seen a few anime, and usually they don't do that, but I guess it really depends on the ones. Like I'm watching the Studio Ghibli ones, and I think they probably
Oh
have it
yeah,
mapped
no.
out a little bit better than
No, I meant like Dragon Ball like
right.
very
Okay.
cheaply like dubbed here in Mexico. So it's like, yeah, I absolutely.
Hmm. So we see Meggy and Lakoko talking, and Meggy has a confession for Lakoko. She's like, "Oh yeah,
Lord.
I used to get turned on by these kind of commercials." And like Coco's like, "What?" She
I was so
Mickey's
confused.
yeah, Mickey's like, "Oh, yeah, it was the one about the sports." And Lococo is honestly the one person that probably just would not give her, like, the the affirmation that most everybody
Yeah.
like, I'm sure anybody else in that room would have been like, "Yeah, girl, I can relate." And Lococo's like, "Okay, weird."
Yeah, like Coco just straight up told her, you're weird. You know that
Yeah,
you're weird. And I respect that.
um yeah, but then we have the hobbies like come in and talk to everybody, give them advice, tells them to go forth and do. But before that, they do have one ominous thing, and I'm like, okay, is this going to play out? They remind everybody that things are not always as they seem. Like, what does that mean? Are they going to like make them switch scripts or something like that?
That's what I
Something
was thinking.
yeah, I was like, "Well, this could be wild." And it is
Yeah.
improv, so I just figured there must be some sort of curveball that they were gonna throw at them, and there is.
Mhm. It's not as big
Um,
as I thought it would be, but
no.
there is.
No, it really wasn't that big. But we do go to the recording session where everybody's filming their areas, and I will say the hobbies were very hands-on. in this,
Mhm.
and I did like that because if you are a director and you are looking for a specific vision and whatever product you're not whatever you're getting is not living up to the standards of your expectations, it makes sense to give feedback and give suggestions. And we
Mhm.
don't often see, I mean, we see subtle suggestions on a lot of franchises, but not like specific ideas like they were throwing out at them. So I kind of like this.
Yeah, I mean, they are movie directors, so like
Mhm.
they know how to do this and they know how to do it properly. This is not a Michelle situation in which
Right.
she just they're putting her there and like she's just giving them very vague like maybe not, maybe not, like she's they're not doing that. They're fully going like, okay, how about in the camera you don't look correct, you should stand here, talk to this angle and do like they feel
Yeah.
professional, they know
Yeah.
what they're doing and they know what they're saying. And so this is one of the times where I'm like, yeah, those heavies being here makes sense,
Yep.
absolutely, like all what they're saying, correct, makes sense, I understand. And just like Mariana said, if I was getting those critiques, I would be like, yes, sir, absolutely. I am standing exactly where you told me to stand. Yes,
Hmm.
I am saying it exactly at the same tone that you told me to say it. Yes, absolutely, sir. Yes.
Yep. My only thing though is like I don't like it when they use it against somebody that like whatever was happening before the feedback, if they take the feedback and if that's in the final product, I think that's what they should be judged on. If you
Yeah,
didn't like what they were doing before, I don't think that should factor into anybody's placement personally.
I agree.
Yeah. But our first duo is in there, and it's Mariana and Vampy. They are working, and quickly I realize, okay, they're going a drunk angle.
Mhm.
And I like this advice that the Javis gave them because this is the perfect advice. They were like, you have to pretend like you are trying to look like you're not drunk. And that really is the best way to play a drunk person because drunk people rarely just like fully let loose. They are
Mhm.
trying to stay composed. They think they look sober. They think they look like they're
Yes.
in control. And it was great advice from them, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was like the best advice that they could have given them because at first it was like, oh yeah, these girls know that they're drunk. And so the moment where you act like you are trying to pretend that you're not drunk, it became a lot more funny. Like it hit harder. So
Mhm.
I thought that it was a really good like point of view.
Yep. And I think this is where we first find out about the curveball that's coming in this challenge because
Yes.
eventually we do find out that they have to tell the viewers that the first 30 callers are going to get a prize that is in a box. And they don't know what's in the box. We don't know what's in the box. So they have to fully improvise when they open it and present it and sell it and make up what it is. And I was like, okay, this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get to see it at all. I was like, oh no, what could it be?
Yeah, I was terrified and I was expecting something like really like weird. Something really, really weird to come out
Hmm.
of that box. Spoiler alert, I was really confused as to why they pull what they pull out of the box and why it was so like hello. Like I was
Yeah.
confused. But yeah, overall, after this recording, I was like, Mariana did great. I hope that Vampy picked up something and like that they recorded something good
Hmm.
because I am scared.
Hmm.
Spoiler, they didn't. So
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about the box uh, for now is that since we weren't seeing what it was, I was really hoping, like, oh, I hope each team has something different
oh, I agree.
because I wanted to see, like, it could easily get stale if we're seeing the same product from three different people. Whether it did or not, we will talk about later on. um, but then we get our next trio, and it is Angelita, La Nina, and Chloe. And immediately they get started. Lots of energy from the two younger girls. And you can tell right away Angelita is annoyed. She's like,
Mhm.
I'm not getting to talk. They aren't following the structure that we talked about. And you can just tell that she's not having however things are going right now.
Yeah, it felt very much like Chloe and La Nina were fighting for the spotlight, in this situation, which is kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, like, I get it. Uh, but yeah, Angelita, you could tell that she was just upset. Like, she was not vibing with anything that was going on, but also she just refused to tell them to, like, hey, this was not what we talked about,
Right.
or like this was not in the script. But because we get told, like, through her confessionals, she's just like, we're not really following what we talked about super well. And so, like, I'm just getting upset, but then we cut to Angelita in the challenge, and she's just standing there with her arms crossed, not saying anything.
Hmm.
So, like,
Yeah, I've noticed that about Angelita is when something sets her off, she spirals. She just
mhm,
rarely can break out of it. If she gets in a bad mood, that's how she's going to be the rest of the time.
yeah,
Um, but we actually did have the Javis. They also noticed there's not a lot of structure here. Let's help you out here. There's obvious plot points that you need. You if you're going to bring her out, you need to tell why she's there. You need to set up her character. You can't just have her appear.
mhm,
And so I thought they were giving great advice once again, and you really did start to see it come together a little bit better.
yeah, just a little bit. It still felt messy even when they were actually listening to the advice that they were getting, but I was I was really hoping that, like, once the recording edit ended, that we got like an overall good thing, because I came into this challenge expecting, like, specifically Angelita to do really well in this challenge.
Mhm.
So I was like thinking that this was going to be one of those red herrings where they show you a group of girls doing really badly in the recording, and then you see the actual video, and it's super great and it's funny and it works perfectly. That's what I was expecting.
Right. Yeah, but then we do have our final group. It is Le Coco and Meggie, and so they start going. Uh, Things get wild. We see Meggie flipping upside down on a recliner, and the hobbies the whole time are just losing it in the corner. I think this was the group that the hobbies had the least amount of feedback and advice on how to structure things or make add certain elements to it, and that was a good sign that this team's kind of killing it.
Yeah, they absolutely were. And I will say though, the few things that they, like, did help them with were one of the, like, my favorite moments of
Mhm.
their videos. So I feel like they absolutely killed it. Like, they once this finished, I was like, okay, so Lecoco is probably winning this challenge.
Mhm.
Okay, good. I'm happy with that,
Yeah.
because, like, it just felt like Lecoco was the main character of this, like, ad. Like, she felt so confident, and so, like, she knew that she was doing well. So I was like, okay, so Lecoco is probably winning this challenge, isn't she?
But she was nervous about that box. She's like, What's going to be in this box? Is it going to be a dildo? Is it going to be an animal? I
I
don't
was
know."
hoping it was gonna be a dildo.
I thought it, like, honestly, that's just what I was picturing the whole time.
Yeah, me
Is,
too.
is it going to be a sex toy of some kind?
I would have been okay with it. Like,
Right.
three different sex toys. Go ahead, do it. Might as well.
So we do have the next day. I guess it's the next day.
Yeah.
Everybody is gathered around the table and talking, and the questions come up about La Nina. Like, La Nina, what was the strategy between picking Angelita? But she's really not giving anything away at this point.
No, she
Yeah,
wasn't. She
no,
was like, "Oh no, I just picked her because I felt like we could all work really well together, and I know that Angelita is funny, and yeah, you know." But, like, in my mind, I'm like, you know damn well, that's not exactly why you picked her.
right. And then the conversation turns to the lucky queen that we still have not seen, and they're like, okay, so only two people or only three people here have not lip synced. It's Vampy, Coco, and Meggie,
Mhm.
and we know Coco has the garlic. Was it garlic?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, they gave her, like, a necklace of garlic, but I don't think
Oh,
the thing
that's right.
that she
That's right.
had was a garlic. Anyways,
Mhm.
whatever. I don't really know this,
Yeah.
like, thing of garlic. I don't know.
So they're like, okay, so it's one of three things. So either these two have it and they haven't had a chance to play it. Somebody went home with it, or one of the people who's been in the bottom didn't use it.
Yes.
So maybe we'll find out soon.
Who knows? This
Who
is a
knows?
conversation we've been having every single episode. So
Right.
I'm just like, sure, whatever. Let's keep talking about this. Sure, might as well. It's not gonna come up this week. I just know it.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a really interesting conversation with the queens. They start talking about the different clubs that they're working at and how it's different when you're a drag queen working in a club because you don't have the same type of contracts that you might have at a normal job. You don't have those things in writing, those protections, and all of that. And I thought that was really interesting because I have been hearing, like on Twitter, people talking about like drag queens should unionize and
Mhm.
things like that. And I think this is just another similar conversation about like, you know what, we're not treated like this is a real job, and maybe we should be. Maybe we should have something in writing. We should have contracts. We should have just things that help us have security in our jobs.
Yeah, I really like this conversation because it is true that drag has like is viewed as a lesser art form and like not as a like a profitable one because art is already like seen as not a job. And
Hmm.
then this one, like once you're on stage and doing makeup and everything, that's viewed as an even like as a lesser art and so therefore a lesser job. And so I feel like drag queens are not really being respected for the jobs that they're doing. And so I really appreciated this conversation and I felt like yes, we do need to like give the girls more like appreciation for what they're doing.
Hmm. I agree. I think the only other thing we had that came up was Angelita
Mm-hmm.
being concerned about like, oh, how are they going to judge this? Is it going to be judged in teams or individuals? And you can tell she's already kind of worried about how things went. And other people are like, what are you trying to say, girl?
Yeah, and I felt like this was shady. I felt like this was really shady because apparently Angelita told her group, "Oh, we did amazing. I was having so much fun working with you guys."
Hmm.
And then the first moment that she's on camera is talking with the other girls, it's like, "I don't know about these girl. I think I'm gonna be struggling here." And so like, it felt kind of mean. Like it felt kind of hypocritical.
Yeah.
Like we've had these moments before where like you tell a girl to her face that like, oh, you did great, girl, but then when you're on cameras you're like, absolutely not. So do I blame Angelita for it? No, but I definitely thought it was really shady and kind of mean.
Okay. I mean, I will say it was a legitimate question though, because I also was like wondering, are they going to be judged in teams or is it going to be based on everybody's individual performance? But I do realize it was a loaded angle for her.
Hmm.
So,
Yes, absolutely.
but I think we are about there. Okay. We get to the runway. I cannot remember our guest judge's name.
I do.
Oh,
I do.
what is it?
It's Eduardo, my tocayo. Hello, how are you doing?
Do you know him?
No, I don't know who he is, but he has the same name as mine, so I
Okay.
immediately love him. Hello, how are you doing, brother?
Sure.
Brother, hello, brother. Uh,
And look at him getting the middle spot.
I guess he's important. I guess he's really important.
It might be a height thing because he's the tallest there.
But like that hasn't mattered before,
True.
so I don't know. I guess, as I said, I guess he's important. Uh, but yeah, the pendant looks great
Mhm.
ish.
Ish.
Um, this is definitely my least favorite analoging look that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think this is a rare time that the Javis are kind of winning the runway for me.
Yeah, yeah, and especially this is the first time where I'm like, Ambrosi kind of won the runway for me because
Mhm.
normally Ambrosi is my least favorite when it comes to these judges.
Mhm.
So him being kind of my favorite is really weird. Like, what was going on? What was in the water that we all kind of flopped today?
Yeah, good question. Because yeah, I'm Supreme's outfit. It's fine. It's pretty standard. It's a weird shape, but
Yeah, I'm never a huge fan of baby doll dresses. So
mhm,
normally, like this is not for me.
yeah. And Anna Loking, uh, I don't like this hair. I'm not big
Mm-mm.
on mullets.
I, I I think mullets are very hit or miss. It depends. It depends. Sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't. And unfortunately for Anna, this doesn't look great. Like she's not a mullet person.
Yes, I agree. We do get a runway, and we see that everybody is doing the four elements. So they all gather on the stage. We are going to talk about those looks on look over here. So please, if you want to know what we have to say about those looks, and I have some pretty wide, like I have a wide range of scores for those looks. So I'm
Yeah,
just gonna,
this.
I think I have like a over a 30-point range between my favorite and least favorite.
Yeah, I think I do too. I have a 30-point range between my least favorite and my favorite.
Mhm. Yes, so be sure to check that out. That will be dropping a few hours after this, so
Mhm.
stay tuned. But let's go ahead and get into the challenge. So, okay, here we go. We have everybody in their groupings here, and I would like to talk about them one at a time, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Did you give rankings for everybody?
Absolutely, yes, I did.
Perfect. Okay, because I do too. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go with the same order that they came out on the runway, just to keep things simple. So let's talk about Vampy.
Okay.
Um, so I thought she was doing well, but I don't think she was anywhere close to matching the energy that Mariana was giving. There were times where it picked up a little bit. I think the best part for her was actually when she was on the bed, kind of modeling it and like making weird faces and doing things. And that's like the time she wasn't saying anything, but she sold it for me then. But other times I was just like, come on, girl, step it up a little bit because Mariana, her energy was way up there. So Vampy, I kept waiting for it to go somewhere. And I think it was kind of like a mountain. It started down here. It had like a little bit of a peak and then it flatlined again. So Vampy was actually, and I did these rankings immediately after I saw the challenge. So I was not influenced by anybody, but I put her number 7 out of 7.
Okay. Well, Vampy, you know, I when she started, I thought she started off fine. I didn't think that she was doing like particularly bad, but like immediately I was like, okay, so she's gonna have to be the straight man out of this like duo. That's okay. That's sometimes like the role that you need to play, and sometimes the straight man is funnier than like the person with like the crazy energy. So overall, I think Vampy really struggled. I think just this character just didn't work for her. Just as Los Javi said, like we had one girl that just kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and someone that just kept digging herself lower and lower and lower. And so, yeah, like Vampy just felt very like low energy at several moments. Like when they were like taking stuff out of the bed, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, Vampy's just laying there, not
Yep.
really doing anything. And spoiler, Mariana's really like putting all like her whole body into it and like doing really fun things and playing around. And I just think Vampy wasn't allowing herself to play around with this character, which is unfortunate. So for me, I had Vampy at sixth spot. I thought someone did a little worse for
Okay.
different reasons.
Fair. Then on the other side of the coin, we had Mariana. Immediately, I was like, "Oh, she's nailing it. She's nailing it." What I'm really impressed with her, like especially seeing this and Snatch Game, she really can transform into a different character. Like more than anybody else in this cast, she is just like when she wants to be a different person, she becomes that, and it's a chameleon, and it takes me a while to like really connect that it's her. Like obviously I knew it was her in this grouping, but I might not have if it was a big group of all 7 people and I didn't have like the knowledge of what character she was doing ahead of time. But she gave energy the whole time. She was just leading the conversations. She was directing the path. The part that got me the most was near the end. She was so drunk that she kept like hiccuping. And every time she hiccuped, I was losing it because it sounded so real. Like it's not easy to make it. Like I can't do it. I can't. But she had like this subtle, realistic hiccup, and I was like, "You were doing it." And even when they opened the box, that was all her. That was
Yes.
100. Vampy had zero feedback on it. She pulls it out and she's like, "Oh, here is the double-sided dildo." She did not like there was not even a beat. She immediately knew what to say. She immediately went to demonstrating it. So Vampy was kind of forced into that situation, but I loved everything she did. For me, she was my number 1. So this was the best and the worst for me in the same group.
Yeah, for me, Mariana did a really, really good job. I I felt like, as I've been saying, she just kept growing and growing and growing, and like she just got progressively more and more and more drunk, which has been shown before this works. And you said it like yourself, like call her Henny's because she's chameleonic. She chameleonica fully. Uh, I just had so much fun watching Mariana. I thought she did a really good job. She was really funny. She was the one that was really like bringing the conversation around to like where it needed to go, which was kind of shocking because, as I said, once we started this, I thought that Vampy was going to be the straight man and was going to bring us to where we needed to go. And in the end, that wasn't the case. Like Mariana was the one that was bringing us everywhere where we needed to go and telling us what we needed to know. And she did it in such a funny way. And as I said, when they were under the bed bringing out the stuff, she just really just put her entire body into it. She was hiccuping. She was just drooling. She was just throwing things around. I was just living for the entire thing. I thought it worked really well. I thought she was super funny. And yeah, Mariana was my number 2.
Okay. And then we go to the next group. So first, I'll talk about Angelita. What I did like about her performance was she had good facial expressions. I thought there were times where other people would be talking and she was selling it with her face, but overall, I really felt like she was fading into the background. And I wish she had really stepped, like knowing this is improv. This is improv, so you can do whatever you want, girl. I was really hoping she would take opportunities to force her character into the foreground a bit more than it was. Like she was only really focused on when they were explaining her characters. Like most of the times it was like, okay, here is your one moment. They had to wait and like give her time before she would speak up. I wanted her to find those opportunities herself. Where I did think she did do the best was actually when they opened the box, it seemed like they had a direction for what they wanted the item to be. And I really like that this was the time where she took ownership of it. She's like, actually, this is a virtual reality headset. And she put it on and she's like, oh, look at this dick. And she started sucking the VR dick. That was her highlight, I thought, when she was actually doing improv. So for me, I think there were enough things that she ended up pulling out that edged her over Vampy for me, and that's why I have Angelita at number 6.
Well, for me, I forgot Angelita was even here. Like she was for me like the most boring part of this entire thing, because when you have two very over the top characters, you kind of have to still match their energy but still find a way to be the straight man, because you don't want to be so low energy that I forget that you're there. And unfortunately for Angelita, she did fall under that category. I just could tell in the recording that she was angry. that she
Mhm.
was upset and that she was not enjoying herself. Well, I could tell that both Chloe and La Nina were having some fun with like the recording and like everything. And I feel like she's one of those actors that are trying to stick too hard into the script to the point where they're not allowing themselves to play around with like some other things that could be funny or like with some improv like here, because I felt like she was just like not improving with the other girls when they were improving. She was just sitting in the background just looking at them angrily, which I just think didn't work. I just think just nothing about this was particularly funny. And I actually got kind of upset when she was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is not a crown. This is a headset." So like I was like, "Why aren't hello, hello?" Because for me, it immediately kind of like made it obvious that like she did not care what the other girls thought. She did not give a fuck, and
Mm.
she was gonna do her. So for me, that really brought me out of the moment of like, "Oh, this is a character," and this was like, "Oh, this is Angelita doing her." Did I think it was funnier what she pulled out? Yes. The I just it pulled me out of it for that second where she was like, "No, this is not a crown. I'm not gonna do that." It felt very much like I don't care. I don't care what you're saying. I'm gonna do me. And so
Mm.
that really bothered me. But maybe I'm just really tired of Angelita's attitude. So maybe my bias is blinding me. But yeah, for me, Angelita was my least favorite overall. Like she was my seventh.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's really funny how we took two different interpretations on the end there. I get what you're saying though, but I, I guess I just like that she took the initiative, even though they had kind of already decided on something. She's like, no, I'm gonna put my input in here too. So, but
I
I
just wish she would.
absolutely see what you're saying.
I just wish she would have done it immediately,
Right.
because like if she wouldn't have given like Chloe the moment to say, "Oh, this is a crown," to give you a brain like something, if she would have just immediately gone like, "Oh, this is a headset," it wouldn't have been a problem. It would have
Hmm.
worked perfectly. But since there was that moment of like we're not agreeing, it really took me out of it.
Okay. Well, next up we have Chloe. And you know what? I don't know that there were a lot of individual things that she did or said that really stood out to me. But what did stand out to me is her characterization. I thought she had the best characterization of this group. There were things that she was doing. She would be talking or just standing there, and I was laughing just because she has this way of really selling the physical comedy and embodying this like really outrageous character. And I was living for every second of it. Like I thought she was doing really, really well. Um, I do wish they had made more distinction more distinctions between the two younger girls in the group with what kind of characters they were. But I do think Chloe edged out La Nina, and that's why I had Chloe at number 4.
Yeah, when it comes to Chloe, I thought that she. I'm just gonna say this now. She was my favorite out of this group. Out of the three, I think she was the one that just allowed herself to like play around a little bit more. And also, I think that both Angelita and La Nina had lower lows than Chloe, because sure, I think they also had higher highs, but I think just Chloe being able to be consistently funny was just enough for her to just be my favorite one, because she had the least struggles when it came to this. I agree with you. There was not really like any very specific moment where I could like look at Chloe and be like, "Oh, this is something that Chloe did really well here." It was just the entire character. I think she did really well. I think that she was able to like have a lot of good moments even when she wasn't speaking, which it takes a good actor to really be able to make people laugh when you're not talking and when you're not like the main focus. So I thought that Chloe did a really good job there. So overall, I think that Chloe did a fine job, and for me, she was very safe. She was fourth.
Okay. Next up, we have La Nina Delantro. Um, I liked a lot of things about her character. I will say, like the first time we see her is when they're doing the voiceover thing, and it's her acting and Chloe's voiceover. I don't know that the payoff was what they were hoping it would be. That part just felt so inconsequential, and it didn't really like give me any sort of it didn't hit my funny bone at all. So I was like, that's kind of a swing and a miss. And even later on, it seemed like there was a part where La Nina was supposed to be talking in English and Chloe was translating it, but La Nina was not speaking in English. Was she just doing like gibberish that was supposed to be English?
I was gonna get to that. Yeah, she was just saying
Okay.
gibberish.
Okay. It just left me a little confused. What I did like is her long nails. Like I felt like that was the best part of her character. Like the long nails were getting me every time she was like swinging them around. Um, Also, why did her breastplate come out like that? Like I'm trying to think realistically. Okay, if we are watching this on as like an infomercial on TV, I get that a lot of things can go crazy, but your boobs can't just be hanging out like that. So I think that was like a little too far into the crazy, and I wish she had reined it in a little bit. I still liked a lot of things she did. I liked that she had a character, but for me, she would have been in the bottom three, and she would have been number five.
Yeah, this time I feel like a lot of the critiques that they have been giving Chloe would fit really well to La Nina because I felt like she had a lot of energy and she was trying to do something. Uh, Unfortunately for La Nina, I felt like she didn't really like find like the way to really focus that energy and make it work. I felt like she was a little bit too over the place. I did appreciate the gibberish of the supposed English. I found it somewhat funny, but I did think at some points it like took me out of the fantasy because like I wish you either had gone fully like I'm speaking English and that's the way I'm gonna talk through the entirety of the thing,
Hmm.
or I'm just gonna be fully speaking gibberish and pretending that it's English. Like I would have appreciated like just really going for it, and I don't think she really went for it with the character. I don't know. I felt like she was really messy. Like I just felt like the characterization of everything and like all of her moments that she was having were really messy and like as you said, like the breastplate coming out and like a lot of moments where they were feeding Angelita, I felt like the Nina was being really forceful with it and like it took me out of it. It just it just wasn't
Hmm.
working for La Nina. Did I think it was bad? No, but I just think she didn't focus her energy, which, as I said, is the same critique that they give in Chloe, but I think this time they fit more for La Nina. So I agree with you with her placement. She would have been in my bottom three, but she would have been saved, so therefore she would have been sixth. No, fifth. Sorry. What? Sorry,
Hmm.
hold on. Yeah, fifth.
Yes,
There
fine.
you go.
Hmm. This is
Math.
funny.
Sorry.
I already see where this is going with our rankings, and it's going to be
Yes.
interesting. So next up, we have our other team, and we'll talk about Meggie first. I really liked her character. Like it was very clear for me. I'll just say, just as a whole, these two had the most clear characters, distinct characters, and they worked really well together. But Meggie, she was kind of the person that was unprepared. She was kind of out of it. Um, and I say this, but I mean her character was unprepared, not she wasn't unprepared.
Yeah.
Um, and you could just tell like it was kind of manic, and she had to be reined in a lot by her partner. And I was getting it all. Like she was really selling this character very well. Um, I thought the highlight was the part when she was on the recliner doing all sorts of crazy things, going upside down, doing manic things on it, and you find out, oh no, I'm describing what the recliner does, not you. I thought she was really funny. Like this, I actually think this was one of her better weeks in the competition so far. For me, she was number three.
Yeah, when it comes to Maggie, I'm just gonna say this. This was my favorite team, and this were my top two. Uh, I thought that this is what I was expecting Mariana and Bambi to be doing. Like I was expecting Mariana to be the Maggie of her team, and I was expected Bambi to be Le Coco.
Mhm.
So once I got this, I was like, okay, I'm finally getting what I was hoping for in this challenge. Maggie was really funny to me. I thought she did a really good job. Everything, like this character, is so stupid, but I guess Maggie just does stupid really well, because we've seen her do stupid in the acting challenge and here, and both times I thought that she did it pretty well. She just she just played around and she was having fun with it. And when you're having fun with it, we're having fun with it. And so that for me really worked. I really enjoyed both of the times where like Coco had to be like rile her back in like the kind of behind the scenes moments, like when Coco slapped her and her face went the wrong direction, and Coco had to tell her, "Your face was supposed to go the other way, you dumb bitch." Like I was living for it. I thought it was so funny, and Maggie did a really good job. It's just that like I'm gonna get to it once we talk about Coco. I thought that a lot of her funny moments were funnier because Coco was there. So for me, Maggie was my third.
Okay. And then finally, we have Le Coco. And is it just me, or in this screenshot down here, does Le Coco kind of look like a redheaded Courtney Act?
Oh my god.
A little bit. Do you
Oh,
see it?
I kind I can kind of see it. Like yeah,
Mhm.
this would absolutely be a wig that Courtney Act would wear, but in blonde.
Right, exactly. um, but yes, Le Coco, I thought her character was so interesting because in this duo, she was not the silly one. She was more of the composed, straight person. But I think she did a masterclass in showing that just because you're not the silly character doesn't mean that you're not funny, because she was really selling it. I think she was overdoing the composure of it all, and that's what really made it work so well, and that's why they complemented each other so well. So I thought she was really doing well. She sold it with the facial expressions more than just about anybody. And then my favorite parts were what you talked about earlier, when they would show those cuts of them backstage with her lecturing Maggie's character, or Pilar. I thought it was so. Were they both Pilar? Did I miss
Yes,
that?
it was Pilar
Okay,
1
yeah,
and Pilar 2.
that's what I thought. Um, but yeah, I was so impressed with her. She for me was a very very close number two to Mariana.
Yeah, for me, I'm just gonna say it. Le Coco was my favorite one overall. I thought that like this was one of these moments that we see in comedy of uh, a very normal person reacting to a very absurd situation. Like, and I feel like it really worked. It was really funny. Her trying to really compose herself in every single moment, I thought, like, really brought the attention to her, but made the situation even funnier. And as I said, I think that Le Coco made a lot of the moments that Maggie was having funnier by trying to bring it back into reality. I thought that like it worked really well. I thought the behind the scenes moments were really funny, and I was also really appreciating that Le Coco was still not afraid to play around and to still look stupid, because normally like we've seen La Coco say like I don't like being stupid, I don't like looking stupid, I don't like doing
Mhm.
all that, but she was still able to do it, and she was allowing herself to do it, and she did it really well. So for me, like this like this interaction, it was another moment of like last
We are having
episode.
technical difficulties.
I am so sorry.
It's okay. I think you're back now.
Lord have mercy on my soul. Sorry, third world problems. I am so sorry. As I was saying, yeah, I just thought that these two working off of each other worked really well. It was another moment of like Vampy with Le Coco, and now it's Maggie with Le Coco. Le Coco just works really well with everyone, so I think it works really well. So yeah, she was my number one.
I think it's me that's having technical difficulties. So you're
I
good.
don't know. I don't know. We're struggling over here, okay? We are struggling, but we're trying our best.
We are. But let's go ahead and move on. So we get our feedback. So as the judges are going through giving each team feedback, what really stood out to me was when they get to the trio. Um, and this is where Angelita, the whole time they're talking, just looks so mad, angry. And they give her an opportunity because they can tell that she's just biting her tongue till it's bleeding, So the judges are saying, well, what's on your mind? And she immediately takes the opportunity to throw the other girls under the bus, justified or not. um,
Mhm.
but what I thought was interesting is the person that wasn't going to take it was actually Chloe this time. And
Mhm.
I think this is the first time that we've really seen Chloe kind of get into an argument with somebody. And I was here for it. I'm glad Chloe stood up for herself because I, I honestly cannot, I don't think we saw enough in the workroom as far as how they built their structure to really know who's in the right here personally.
Mhm.
But I do like that Chloe and to a degree La Nina weren't just going to roll over and take it.
Yeah, I I really appreciated this moment from Chloe. I was like, because what Angelita was saying, it felt very like I'm trying to save my ass from being in the bottom two. I don't want to be lip syncing here, and so I'm gonna do my best to throw these two girls in the bottom two. I'm gonna find a way to do it, and I don't care. I don't care about these girls, and I would really appreciate that Chloe like just this was the moment where Chloe was just like, I'm not having it anymore. I am done with you. I've given you a lot of grace until this point. I'm not doing that anymore. And this is like the moment where I felt like Chloe really saved herself from being like anywhere near elimination. And this is the
Mhm.
moment where Angelita sent herself home. I feel like this is the
Mhm.
moment where Angelita just kind of destined herself to be in the bottom two, no matter what. She kind of like the moment that Chloe fought back and was like, "Yeah, no, this is not how this went down" to the judges. I think that's the moment where Angelita kind of like dug herself like her own grave and just had to lie on it.
Yep. Yep. I did forget to mention it, but our rankings that we had, so we had the same rankings except our top two were switched and our bottom two were switched. So
Yeah.
basically, we had a tie for first place between Lecoco and Mariano between the two of us, and a tie for last place between Vampy and Angelita between the two of us, and then
Yes.
Meggie third, Chloe fourth, La Nina fifth.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, look at that. We do go to Untucked. Things continue. Things continue. Ladinia, I was when she started off, I was so confused. She's like, first of all, I want to congratulate Angelita for knowing exactly what to say to throw her teammates under the bus. And I was like,
I was living. I was living. This was this was really the climax of Angelita's and I guess all of the younger girls' storyline. Like it truly felt like this is the peak. This is the moment where we're finally getting a resolution out of it. And I was just living for all the shade that was going on. I
yep,
for a second I thought that Angelita was gonna quit. There was a
me too.
moment where I was like, okay, Angelita is about to quit because she just has had it with these girls, and I was kind of hoping that she would, but like in the end she didn't. But
Mhm.
I was just living for it, and I also really appreciated Vampy coming in, being like, "Can we all just shut up?
Right.
I'm tired. I am done." And I felt like Vampy was really like the voice of the fans so far because I feel like a lot of us felt the exact same way that Vampy did. We were like, this storyline has run its course. We are done. We are tired. This has been happening a lot, and I'm starting to get uncomfortable with all of this fighting that's going on. Can we just stop, please, and thank you? And
Mhm.
so I was living for this entire moment, and as I said, it really felt like the climax of it. Like this is the moment where this is gonna finally finish. One of these girls is gonna go home, and this is
Mhm.
gonna finish. Whether
Yep.
evil or good is gonna win, because Angelita likes to call herself evil. So whether evil or good is gonna win, we'll have to see. But one of them is going home. This is the
Mhm.
moment where I was just like, okay, so it's gonna be La Nina versus Angelita. I'm just ready for it. I'm just
Yep.
waiting for it.
It definitely seemed headed that way. We did also have La Nina talk about how it seems like anytime something goes wrong for Angelita, it's someone else's fault.
Mhm.
And I love Angelita. I think she's a cool person. But this is something I've actually picked up on as well. And it really started with Snatch Game
Yeah.
when she was blaming other people for not bantering with her for why she did poorly in Snatch Game. It does seem like she can't fully take responsibility when she doesn't do well in a challenge. And I'm kind of glad that they pointed that out.
Yeah, and as I've said throughout like this entire season with Angelita, it also feels like she doesn't respect the younger girls as much as they respect her, because it feels like people like Mariana really seems to respect Angelita and has moved on from the little arguments that they had. Same thing with Vampy, like they have all moved on. They all kind
Right.
of respect her, but Angelita just likes to hold grudges. I think for too long, and like she doesn't let go of when she like feels annoyed or angry with someone, and so it really feels like she doesn't really view the younger girls as being in the same position as she is. And I don't know, it just, as you've said, I really like Angelita, and I really will always appreciate a villain in Drag Race. And I felt like Angelita has brought a lot to the season so far, and a lot of really interesting and fun situations. And like this, Angelita has made the season better, but it comes to a point where like it becomes too much and it starts getting a little bit repetitive and a little bit of annoying. And I think this past few episodes have started getting there, unfortunately
Mm-hmm.
for Angelita. So I was just like, it's time. We need to figure something out, because I don't know if I can handle a lot more of this.
Right. It seems like the week of getting rid of villains on these shows.
Yeah, weirdly
Especially
enough.
Kara Might. Sorry, Kara. You were just too much of a villain on Thailand.
I don't know about all that. She she was just there. She was just there. Hello?
um, yeah. So we do go back on the stage and we get some results. So we find out our winning team is Le Coco and Meggie. And
Absolutely.
absolutely, I feel like if you're going to have a team that is safe as a win, I absolutely do agree. This was the right team, and it does make sense to pick a winner from this team,
Yes.
even though Mariana was my favorite individual.
Mhm.
Um, and we do get our winner from this team. And finally, it has happened. We get Le Coco winning,
Yes! Finally.
which that makes 7 episodes with 7 different winners.
Iconic. I'm
Yeah,
living.
it almost feels like the show is like, we know what they've said about other seasons about us giving wins to our favorites and those people winning,
Yeah.
because the person with the most wins in the season always wins Drag Race España,
Mhm.
including All Stars. And so it's like, well, let's spread it as thin as possible, and then they can't complain.
And honestly, good. I am
Mhm.
enjoying this.
Me too. Um, we do get um, our safes are Mariana and Chloe, so that means our bottom three is Angelita, La Nina, and Vampirasian.
Mhm.
So we do find out that we are going to have a bottom two, but we do need someone to be on hand just in case the lucky queen
I
is played.
wonder why you're bringing this up, huh? I wonder why you're bringing this up.
So our bottom two is Angelita and Vampy. So Vampy told us in confessional she's going to give her all during this lip sync. She wouldn't lie to us, would she?
No, she would not.
And then she gives us all of her lucky queen. She pulls
Yes!
it out, and she sure shut you up, Eduardo.
Yeah, fully. I was like, first of all, I was like, we already know that Maggie has it. Can we move on? And second of all, I was like, we know that the queen is not coming out this episode. Can we move on? And then when Bumpy reaches into her chest, I was like, this is not about to happen. This is not about to happen. And then you see it, and I was living. I was so happy to have been proven wrong. I will say this does still feel a little bit like production medley, because it is very convenient that this is a win-win situation for Vampy to have the queen in this situation, because like Vampy has been proving to, one, be a fan favorite, two, she has been doing really well throughout this entire competition. She's tied like with Le Coco as the front runner until this episode, And like if you save Vampy, you get to finish the storyline of La Niña versus Angelita.
Hmm.
So this just feels very like it's a win-win situation for Vampy to have the queen, and so it does feel a little production medley, but it feels like one of these situations in which production saw an opportunity to make the season better and chose to take it and to like play with it. And so, does it feel production medley to me? Yes. Am I happy with it? Yes. This is very much like All Star 6. I can see the production like pulling the strings, but I like it. But I
Yeah.
like it.
Meanwhile, I'm choosing to believe the best in the situation. We saw them all pick their own things. I'm trusting that they held on to those, did not let them go, and there's no way production could have switched anything out. So I'm going to believe that. I thought so. I knew that you thought there could be some production meddling. I thought going into this conversation that it was going to be you thought they purposely put Vampy in the bottom to expose that. But I was going to say we all had everybody in their placements. Like this is the most we've ever agreed with the judging. It seems
Mhm.
like this season, so it made sense that she was in the bottom too.
Yeah, it did. So like it's not like it wasn't like fair, but like as I said, it feels very much like very convenient that Vampire Russian did have the queen. But as I said, I'm not upset.
Right.
I am living.
So we do get our new bottom two, and it is Angelita and La Nina. And this did not go how I thought it was going to go. I thought La Nina would have to immediately like jump on stage and
I
take her
thought so
place
too.
because they were telling people like be ready in case they have 10 seconds. So that
Yeah.
made it seem like they had to literally be ready to start lip syncing on the spot, which I kind of wish they did that.
Yeah, I always thought that the way that the queen worked was that the queen would pull out their lucky queen, immediately walk back, and the girl would immediately have to get on stage and start lip syncing,
Yep.
while the other girl has been lip syncing the whole time. So
Like the buzzer in All Stars 1, the
yeah,
US.
fully. That's what I was expecting.
Mhm.
So that's not the way it went, but I was not upset.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense. I will say I was having a full like roller coaster of emotions because of the queen. Because at first I was like, yes, Vampire Russian, yes. But then I was like, oh shit, La Nina's in the bottom, and so this is like her third time or fourth time being in the bottom too. And so I was just like, oh, it's over. Oh, it's over. I am so upset right now. La Nina is about to go home. I am so upset. This is so upsetting. But then
Mhm.
La Nina started lip syncing, and I was like, oh, if she doesn't win this lip sync, I am going to scream so hard because in my brain, La Nina absolutely demolished. Like there was no way for me that Angelita won this lip sync because there were a few moments that Angelita did do some funny things, but I think she was over relying on the fact that she was trying to copy La Niña del Antro's moves and trying to make them funny. And there were several moments where like it just didn't work. Like when she was doing the back bend and you saw Angelita trying to do it as well, but then her just going, no, that's not gonna work. Goodbye. So for me, La Nina really had this good mixture of being funny and having really good moves. So I think La Nina won this lip sync.
That's fair. I think for me it was a bit closer because I actually enjoyed both of them in the lip sync.
Yeah,
I thought both of them had some funny moments. If I'm gonna critique La Nina, I think we saw a lot of things that we've already seen from her.
can you blame her
Um,
though?
I know. The one thing that I'm like I've never really been impressed with, and she keeps doing, is she does this thing where she like crouches and spins her head and whips her hair. But the way she like bends to hold herself, like it really feels like she's fighting to be in control of it and not like fall. So that's the only move that she does that I'm like, no, I don't need to see that anymore. But she always does it. And Analita, I thought she had some fun moves. Like usually the robot doesn't quite work for me, but I think she sold the robot in a way that was entertaining enough for me.
Sure. I wouldn't say that that's her best moment. I do think she had her moments. I don't think that's one of them.
Mm, okay. But for me, in the end, I did think La Nina won. And guess what? So did the judges. And we do lose Angelita. Who's going to
It
start
was time.
the fights now?
Probably Maggie.
Maggie.
Maggie's gonna take up the role of villain for the rest of the season, I think. Uh,
It does seem like Maggie has like reined it in a lot lately. So,
yeah,
and I also feel like Maggie is a person that is maybe kind of influenced by other people lashing out. Like she's kind of like the sidekick in ways. So I would not be surprised if it gets a little kumbaya moving forward.
I mean, after we've had a fight every single episode so far, so
Hmm.
I would not be upset if for the next what 4 episodes that we're gonna get, we get a lot like nicer moments, and we just get like just nuggets of shade every here and there, rather than
Right.
just it being shade and having moments of niceness. So hopefully it does turn a little bit nicer, but like I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this felt like this was the moment, as I've said. Like this was the climax. One of these two girls was gonna go home, and
Hmm.
it felt very much like this was Angelita's last episode throughout the entirety of like the runtime of it. So I was not upset seeing Angelita go because, as I've said, like her storyline had already run and it had already finished, and so it just felt like it was the right time. As I said, I will always love a villain, and I appreciate Angelita for giving us a lot of fun moments and a lot of like drama throughout the season. And I think that makes the season a lot more interesting and a lot more fun to watch. Uh, yeah, I think my bias blinded me when it came to the lip sync, but I do have to say like Angelita did bring something interesting to the season, and I have to give her props for that, and I have to give her her flowers. So good job, Angelita. Honestly.
Yeah, I would actually like if they do an All Stars 2 for España, I would love to see Angelita back. I
Yeah,
think
that would be fun.
yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we could see improvements from her, and I just think she's so interesting and naturally funny. So I would love that. But you know what I realized?
What?
Angelita still could bring the drama next week
Oh, she absolutely
because
will.
because she's back. She's back. We saw in the preview that they're doing a roast and they're bringing back the eliminated queens, I guess, as audience members. And we do get a really shady moment of it was Angelita, Miss Cristo, and somebody else, but it was maybe Kelly, like pretending to be sleeping during somebody's set. So I'm like,
Either Kelly
oh,
or Dita. I don't know, but
uh,
because I didn't, I only saw Angelita, and so I was just like, oh Lord, this is happening. Okay, uh, and it makes sense for Miss Cristo to be there. I don't know who the third person is, honestly,
I
but
really think they brought everybody back. They just had three at one
I mean,
table.
yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
obviously, but I was like, I don't know who this third
Yeah.
person is, but I
If
know that like I have a feeling that Angelita is gonna really like put some girls off because she's gonna be like going out of her way to boo the girls or like really not give them
that
that
wouldn't
like
be cool.
reaction.
Oh, I
But I
wouldn't
feel
want
like
that.
Angelita is better enough. Honestly, like I feel like she would because I feel like if I am in Angelita's shoes, and sometimes I can be really bitter. So if I was really bitter about the situation, I would go out of my way, even if like, for example, if Mariana was really funny and I was really upset with Mariana, I would try my hardest to be like yawning, like being like, "Oh, this is so boring," and to not give her any of like the validation.
Mhm.
I could see that happening, especially with how the season has been going. I could feel like these like El Eje del Mar, like really just not giving the younger girls that moment to like really like reassure them of like, oh yeah, you're doing fine, or like yeah, this is funny. So I could see the like the younger girls really being put off by El Eje del Mal. Speaking of, I forgot to mention this.
Axis of evil.
Yeah, the axis of evil. Uh, I forgot to mention this. I really loved in the lip sync when the lip sync mentioned something about like defeating evil or something like that. That La Nina pointed at Angelita like, like you are evil,
I
and I
don't know
will
the
like
lyrics.
yeah. So the lyric said something about uh, el mal no existe, or like evil will stop existing, or the evil that will not exist. And she pointed at Angelita in the moment where that happened. So it felt correct. Like,
Mhm.
because as we've mentioned throughout this, Angelita likes to call herself the axis of evil. And
Mhm.
so it was really funny. But yeah, I feel like the axis of evil is gonna play a big role on how the girls are gonna. I feel like they're gonna like make some girls feel scared or like
I could see it.
smaller.
I hope not, but I guess we'll see. I also like. Do you think Annalita was taking out some aggression on that stage light?
Oh yeah, probably, probably.
Yeah.
I was fully expecting her to break it, like fully.
Hmm.
Like I was fully expecting her to break it, and for the
Me too.
judges to have that moment of the just like the very quiet, very shocked no. But it
But
didn't
yes,
happen.
it didn't happen. So I'll give a quick draft update, but nothing has changed.
Do we have to?
Um,
Do we really have to?
I'll okay. Here's a quick draft update. Things are getting closer between first and second place because Lana Lana has a good team. Lana has Le Coco and Meggie, and so she got 9 points this episode. Meanwhile, I have Mariana, who got me 3 points, but I also have La Nina and Vampi, who didn't get me a lot of points this episode. So the gap is getting smaller. Lana's catching up to me, and I would not be surprised if having Meggie and Le Coco is enough for Lana to end up winning this draft.
Yeah.
So
And I'm on the bottom because I only received 3 points.
yep, it happens. But we are going to go ahead and get out of here. Be sure to keep an eye out for Look Over Here. It should be coming soon, and you will get to see all of our thoughts on this runway. And I have thoughts. So
Yeah.
it should be a fun one. But don't forget to subscribe to this channel, leave comments, like this video, share this video. If you want to listen to us on podcasts, in the description below, you can find links to all of our podcasts. You can also find links to our social media below. Um, and I've got my Instagram right here. And Eduardo, it says Twitter for Eduardo, but it's Twitter and Instagram. Oh, and
Yeah.
Lana's on there. I have the wrong one up. I didn't even notice that.
Oops.
There we go. There we
There you
go.
go.
This whole time it has said Lana and not Eduardo. So the erasure
Well,
of Eduardo.
yeah, you just said fuck Latin people. I hate y'all so much.
I guess so. But yes, we are gonna oh, and get some cup merch. You can get that at lanagcreations.etsy.com. And now we are gonna go ahead and get out of here. So cheers.
Cheers. Lord. Come on, you got this. I believe
I
in
got
you. You